So this is an instrument that I call the Mixtur-Trautonium. It's a combination of Haken Continuum played on the lower half of Y and a modular synthesizer set up in a configuration very similar to Oskar Sala's Mixtur-Trautonium. At least it uses two Doepfer modules that are the heart of that instrument, the SubHarmonic Generator and the Trautinuum Formant filter. In addition to this, I've created a subharmonic generator on the Continuum in addition to a number of other presets that are geared for playing on the bottom half of Y, so this instrument can play polyphonically, at least from the standpoint of one monophonic line per side of Y, though the Continuum is capable of a lot more, of course. But the main idea here is that I can create an instrument like the Mixtur-Trautonium that had two manuals, and I'm simulating two monophonic manuals here, one played on the lower half of Y through all the different kinds of Continuum presets I can adapt for this, and the second half of this is the modular setup, which admittedly is in one of a zillion possible configurations given all the kinds of Eurorack modules that you can buy today. But I've tried to keep this particular design, at least for now, rather consistent with the Doepfer interpretation of the Mixtur-Trautonium. If we look at the screen here, I'll go to what Doepfer prescribes as the setup for the Mixtur-Trautonium using at least their modules. What it consists of course, is the subharmonic oscillator, which is really subharmonic generator that's capable of putting out four different tones based on the subharmonic series, basically the overtone series in reverse. And this module is driven by a pulse wave, a square wave. So I have to have a master oscillator that's capable of outputting a square wave to drive this thing. And I have an oscillator here that actually has 5 different outputs, one of which is a pulse wave that I can set to a square. And so I'm using that to drive this subharmonic generator, which basically puts out triangle wave tones. And the oscillator is also putting out other tones at the same frequency that is being driven by the Continuum as 1 volt per octave frequency outputs, so that I can create side tone generators in here as well. Now the side oscillator that we see here in the Doepfer design is a separate oscillator. I also have another oscillator that I've set up as a separate oscillator so that I can mimic this configuration. And all that, in addition to a noise generator, which I have a noise source here that I have a separate filter on so I can kind of control the noise coming out of there, that I've set to be both high pass and low pass noise coming out of that, so I can have a variety of different noise sources that I'll feed into this. All that is fed into this mixer in their design that's then fed into the Trautonium filter. And I have a little mixer here as well that I've mixed all these outputs in addition to the Continuum output, because I want to throw that into the Formant filter as well. So I have the little mixer modules in here. I've mixed it all together and throw it all into this Formant filter that allows you to set 4 different bands, be it low pass filters or band pass filters, or you can set this to no filter at all if you don't want that filtering option configured. And so in this way you can have a lot of different filtering possibilities In addition, I've also mixed the continuum to an external mixer you don't see here, so that I can turn up the mix of just a bass continuum stereo sound in addition to this monophonic continuum output that I've mixed into this thing. So in addition to that, the design also calls for what was called a Schlagwerk. Basically, it's an envelope generator, an LFO that can be used in combination with a VCA on the outputs to do different things. And what I've done is added a combination module here that's both an envelope generator and a low frequency oscillator, an LFO, that I can set and modulate different things with. And in addition, Oskar Sala also had a frequency shifter on his, and I have a frequency shifting module here as well. In addition to all that, I had to have some other mixing modules to allow me to take the CV outputs of the CVC, which is driven by the lower half, or the upper half of Y, rather, to be able to independently control that from the continuum's bottom half of Y, and I do that through a VCA that's gated from the gate signal, so that only when one of the tones from the CVC is gated on will I mix that in. And because this thing is set up to be actually a two-voice continuum preset, what that means is when one voice is playing on the bottom, one voice will be free to play on the top, but depending upon which one you start with, the voice could be either 1 or 2 on either the top or the bottom. On the continuum side, it doesn't matter because it's just going to play. But on the modular side, I have to make sure that I've mixed those CVCs independently and gated them so that only one of them will play at any one time, because I don't want to mix CVC frequency voltage together, or I won't be in tune. Now all that is now driven by knobs and sliders and some buttons here, because at the heart of this is a little sequential switch module that I put in place that allows me to turn certain sounds on and off. So that gives me a lot of great flexibility to do things in real time. When you look at Oskar Sala playing his instrument, he's always fiddling with dials and buttons and things, and this is no different. You have to kind of know what you're doing, and as you're playing it, you can dynamically change things. One other thing to note on the subharmonic generator, in the original instrument, Oskar Sala had a foot pedal or foot actuator that was capable of changing the different mixtures. This thing, as we said, has 4 different possibilities of overtones, from the first, which is your fundamental, and then going down up to 24 actually on this. On the continuum version, I only go to 12, but that's plenty for what we need to do here. And this foot pedal allowed Sala to instantly change these mixtures, as he called them, and there's a foot controller on here as well, connected to 2 pedals, that allows me to instantly change the setting here on up to 4 different mixtures. Sala, I believe, only could do 3, but because Doepfer put this together, having 2 pedals in binary fashion, you can have then up to 4 combinations, and that's what we can do here. So the bass sound that I'm playing now is the subharmonic oscillator, but we can do other things here too. I can take that out and bring up a side oscillator that I can kick in here. If I wanted to do that on the continuum, I could simply bring up a preset that I have installed here that only has the side oscillator on it. So I've got 16 different presets here set up to do different things on the continuum side, all of which are programmed only on the bottom half of Y. So I have a number of different oscillators I can choose from here. That's more triangle kind of tone. If I want, I can kick in this separate side oscillator, and that's set for a triangle wave. You can hear, I have to be careful because I'm set up to be monophonically, but there's two voices here, but only a monophonic Eurorack setup. So if I'm not careful, I can get a little squealing going on here. Have to be very careful to play monophonically. But that's actually a sound. If I know what I'm doing, I can use to my advantage to do different things with. So I can kick in the side oscillators. I also have some modulating sources here that are set up in different ways. So on this triangle tone, this oscillator also has a wave shaping capability. I can feed that triangle tone through the switch back in on itself and create a wave shaped tone. And I can wave shape that in different ways. I can actually now also bring in some noise if I want. Some low noise, some high noise that I can play around with in various ways. And then what I can do is bring in a tone that I can put the frequency shifter on. There's one. I have two tones that I can do that with. Bring up some noise. And I could put in something weird on the continuum side. Do all different kinds of things that I've set up the continuum to do here. I could set it up to have a little bit of more modulated source on the continuum. Very easy and wonderful the way I can just easily, simply change. The possibilities here are really endless. I can set up kind of a random sound on the bottom. I have tri-octave pedal. Can bring that in. The things I can do here are truly endless, and I've found that playing around with this thing is really, really fun. Here's another continuum sound. That might go good with all these frequency shifted sounds. That just gives you a little bit of a taste for what I can do here. I'll put up a following video that maybe uses this in a little more of a musical way, creating a piece. But I think you get the idea here that the continuum is just such a wonderful, flexible thing that you can do so many things with. And every time I use it, I'm just mystified and elated about all the wonderful things this incredible instrument can do.